Can you imagine facing the same rival over and over again, and each time managing to bring out a better version of yourself? That's exactly what happens between Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner, a rivalry that is already making tennis history. But in Cincinnati, the Mercian has sent a direct and defiant message to his great opponent. Today we're going to discover the impactful message that Alcaraz has sent to Sinner before the final, and why these words raise even more tension around this much-anticipated match. Carlos Alcaraz reached the final in Cincinnati with a firm step after defeating Alexander Zverev in 2 sets, showing a devastating level of tennis. But what drew the most attention was not only his game, but also his statements afterward. The young Spaniard assured that he is ready not only physically and technically, but also mentally prepared to face Sinner again, recognizing that this duel motivates him to reach his highest level. His words were not just simple phrases, but a warning loaded with ambition. The most striking message came when Alcaraz declared, "I'm ready to see what I did wrong in the last match and try to improve." That phrase holds much more than it seems, as it means he is not content with his current level. He is willing to learn from every defeat, to refine details, and to return even stronger. For Sinner, those words are a reminder that he will face a rival who never gives up and who always seeks to evolve. In this rivalry, mutual respect is evident, but so is extreme competitiveness. Alcaraz pointed out that, thanks to Sinner, he manages to bring out the best in himself, implicitly acknowledging that the Italian has become a mirror that constantly challenges him. It's a message that mixes admiration and challenge, as if saying, "You force me to be better, but I will use that to surpass you." The balance between respect and ambition makes these statements truly powerful. The phrase "I'm ready to face the challenge" perfectly sums up the Mercian's mentality. He doesn't see the final as just another match, but as an opportunity for personal and professional growth. Each clash against Sinner is not just a sporting showdown, but a chapter within a bigger story, where both fight to become the undisputed benchmark of world tennis. That approach turns the duel into something greater than a title. What is most intriguing is the confidence Alcaraz transmits when he affirms that he will adjust his game to be perfect. Talking about perfection before a final against such a demanding rival as Sinner is a message of determination. He is telling the Italian, indirectly, that he won't settle for anything less than his best version. It's a statement of intent that raises public expectations even higher. The impact of these words did not go unnoticed. Fans and the press have already interpreted them as a direct challenge, a way to heat up the lead up to the final and turn it into a spectacle full of tension. Alcaraz not only plays with the racket, he also knows how to play with the mind, and with this message he makes it clear that his goal is to make a statement in Cincinnati. The background of this message also reflects a surprising maturity for Alcaraz's age. Recognizing mistakes, analyzing them, and being willing to correct them in record time is a trait of true champions. This makes him an even more dangerous rival, because every previous defeat becomes a lesson. For Sinner, receiving that message means facing a renewed Alcaraz, hungry for revenge. The way Alcaraz spoke about the day before the final also sends a forceful message: tomorrow is a day off. I will try to adjust my game a little better to be ready at 100%. It's not about resting for the sake of resting, but about making use of every moment to prepare meticulously. It's a declaration of discipline, absolute focus, and commitment to excellence, something not every player manages to convey so clearly. Sinner, no doubt, will have taken these words into account. Both know that every clash is a mental battle as well as a physical one. When Alcaraz states that he seeks perfection, he is setting a psychological stage where he demonstrates confidence, security, and hunger for victory. It's not an open provocation, but it is a warning that he doesn't intend to give up even an inch on court. The public, meanwhile, already sees this message as a kind of prologue to the final. It's not just about what is played with the racket, but also what is generated with words. Alcaraz has managed to spark anticipation, turning his message into a catalyst for emotions. Every fan is now more eager to see whether he will deliver on what he has promised, a perfect level against his great rival. At this stage of the season, with the US Open just around the corner, the Cincinnati final takes on even greater meaning. What Alcaraz has expressed publicly is, in a way, a reminder to the entire circuit: he is ready to correct, improve, and dominate. It's not just a message directed at Sinner, but also at the rest of the players seeking their chance on the American swing. The duel between them was already promising to be spectacular, but Alcaraz's message takes it to another level. Now it's not just about who takes the title, but about whether the Mercian's words will turn into facts on the court. Expectations are at their peak, and the impact of his statements will be measured point by point in the most anticipated final of the summer. Carlos Alcaraz's message to Jannik Sinner before the Cincinnati final was no accident. It was a clear warning: he is ready to correct mistakes, reach perfection, and push his tennis to the limit. Words that mix respect, confidence, and challenge, putting the Italian against a rival who doesn't just play with talent, but also with a winning mentality. The final, beyond the result, will be the stage to see whether Alcaraz manages to turn his impactful declaration into a historic performance. Have you ever missed an important match simply because the schedules were pure chaos? Well, that's exactly what's happening at the Cincinnati Masters 1000, where the schedules of Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner have caused quite a mess among players and fans. The confusion has been such that even Alexander Zverev asked in disbelief, "I play tomorrow night, right?" Today we're going to unravel this puzzle of dates and times, and understand why the final between Alcaraz and Sinner has also become a real challenge off the court. The consolidation of 12-day mixed tournaments in the ATP calendar is causing a real headache in match organization. Cincinnati, one of the most important tournaments after the Grand Slams, has been a clear example of this problem. The confusion doesn't only affect fans trying to follow the matches, but also the players themselves, who often learn the final schedule at the last minute, as happened with Zverev in his statements. Already at the Masters 1000 in Canada, a similar dilemma arose, when the tournament ended midweek, just as Cincinnati was already starting. That time the absence of stars like Alcaraz, Sinner, or Djokovic reduced the impact, but now, with the best players in action and with the possibility of a fourth consecutive final between the Mercian and the Italian, the interest is much greater and, therefore, so is the confusion. In this edition, the semifinals were scheduled for Saturday, although some parallel events still insisted on Friday. At 9 p.m. in Spain, Jannik Sinner faces Terence Atman, while at midnight, already into Sunday, Carlos Alcaraz faces Alexander Zverev. This order of play at least ensured the presence of the world's top three in the final stages, something that increases the anticipation. The real novelty that has sparked controversy is that Sunday, the usual day for a men's final, has been reserved exclusively for the women's semifinals. This means that both players and fans will have to wait an extra day to witness the big showdown. An unusual move that confuses those who expected the traditional closing day on Sunday. According to the official forecast, the men's final will be played on Monday at 3 p.m. in Cincinnati, that is, 9 p.m. Spanish Peninsular time. The women's final, meanwhile, will take place later that same day, not before 6 p.m. local time, which in Spain means midnight, already going into Tuesday. A schedule that has sparked debates about whether this is really the best way to organize such an important tournament. This alteration is not a mere detail, but an issue with major implications. Players must adjust their routines of rest, training, and competitive mindset to adapt to programming that breaks with tradition. For fans, especially in Europe, following these matches means staying up late or rearranging their day. Elite tennis is played on the court, but also on the calendar, and in Cincinnati this has become evident. The situation becomes even more complicated if we consider that on Tuesday the US Open mixed doubles is already underway, and that the following Sunday the singles draw of this Grand Slam officially begins. That means the Cincinnati finalists will have just a few days to recover, travel, and adapt to a new stage. A schedule without breaks that demands physical and mental endurance, and which could affect performance in New York. For players like Alcaraz and Sinner, who are among the favorites for the US Open title, this lack of respite is an additional challenge. The calendar does not forgive, and although both are used to competing at the highest level, the accumulation of matches and travel can make a difference in a two-week tournament like the one ahead. It is no coincidence that many players complain about how demanding the circuit has become. From the spectator's perspective, Cincinnati's organization has generated mixed reactions. On the one hand, there is understanding for the effort to balance mixed tournaments and give prominence to both the ATP and WTA. On the other hand, the fact of moving the men's final to Monday breaks tradition and creates discomfort, especially in Europe, where the matches end in the early hours of the morning. The spectacle risks losing part of its audience. Curiously, this chaos in schedules is not a new phenomenon, but a growing trend in the tennis calendar. The intention of extending tournaments to 12 days seeks to increase revenue, visibility, and relevance, but it also brings consequences in logistics and in the fan experience. The question is whether this model really benefits everyone or if it is creating more complications than solutions. Alcaraz, Sinner, and the other protagonists of the tournament can do little more than adapt. They know their profession involves dealing with last-minute changes, rain delays, and programming adjustments. However, when the confusion is such that even the players themselves are unsure of when they have to play, it's clear that planning needs to be reviewed to avoid misunderstandings. The Cincinnati final, then, will not only be a battle for the title, but also an example of how modern tennis faces new challenges off the court. Calendar management has become a crucial factor for players and fans, and what has happened at this tournament could open the door to deeper debates on how to organize these major competitions fairly and clearly. The Cincinnati Masters 1000 has exposed a growing problem in tennis: the difficulty of organizing clear and accessible schedules in major tournaments. Between finals on Mondays, late nights for Europeans, and packed calendars that overlap with the US Open, both players and fans end up most affected. Alcaraz and Sinner, ready for another final, face not only the sporting challenge, but also that of adapting to a schedule that gives no respite and that complicates the season more and more. A real scheduling mess has sparked controversy in Cincinnati, but what's clear is that the final between Alcaraz and Sinner promises spectacle no matter the day or the time. And you, what do you think about this scheduling chaos? Leave it in the comments, subscribe so you don't miss future analysis, and share this video with your tennis fan friends. Because even if the calendar is a puzzle, tennis always gives us emotion.